During funerals, we are confronted with the stark reality that death is an inevitable part of life. While the circumstances surrounding death can often be shrouded in mystery, there are instances when individuals choose to embark on a suicidal mission, tragically seeking to bring their lives to a premature and intentional end. In this video, we will delve into the unsettling topic of careless self-destruction, exploring the profound consequences that arise when one takes such a drastic and irreversible path. Death by selfie. When was the last time you took a selfie photo? Maybe you didn't know that it could be a death trap for some careless ones. The emergence of the selfie era has brought to light the risks associated with taking self-portraits. Unfortunately, hundreds of individuals, and possibly even more, have lost their lives while attempting to capture the perfect selfie. The numbers continue to rise, with accidents ranging from simple moments of distraction to engaging in dangerous activities to achieve the ideal shot. One such tragic incident occurred in 2014, involving a young Russian teenager named Xenia Ignatieva. This ugly incident happened 1 month before her 18th birthday. Seeking a photo opportunity, Xenia climbed a 30-foot bridge in St. Petersburg during the night, with a friend waiting below. However, she lost her balance and inadvertently grabbed a high-voltage cable, electrocuting herself. Xenia fell onto the rough concrete below, and despite her friend's shock and urgent call, emergency responders were unable to save her. This particular tragedy raised concerns about the fascination of young people with exploring and photographing risky locations. Psychologist Martin Voigt suggested that railway tracks, like the one Xenia ventured onto, may hold an allure due to their inherent danger. However, as this and similar incidents demonstrate, it is often safer to admire certain things from a distance. Changing people's habits, especially when they fail to recognize the harm in their actions, can be challenging. The question posed about living with someone who is accident-prone versus someone with a disregard for safety is thought-provoking. While both types of individuals present risks, someone with a disregard for safety may be more likely to change their behavior. This is because they have the potential to understand the consequences of their actions and recognize the need for change. However, it ultimately depends on the individual's willingness to prioritize safety and make conscious choices to mitigate risks. The unbelievable flight of lawn chair. Apart from aircraft, how else can you fly so high above sea level, launching deep into the sky, notwithstanding the gravitational force? Larry Walters flew into the air without an airplane in a story so unbelievable. It all happened back in 1982, when Larry, a truck driver with a burning desire to fly, decided to make his dreams take flight, quite literally. Now, understand that Larry had zero formal training or experience in aviation. But hey, who needs that when you've got a whole lot of determination and a dash of craziness, right? So, here's the deal. Larry had this grand vision of soaring through the skies like a bird, but he didn't have a fancy plane or a pilot's license. Nope. He came up with a genius plan that involved turning his ordinary backyard into a launching pad. And you won't believe what he used for his makeshift flying machine. It was nothing more than a regular old lawn chair and a bunch of weather balloons filled with helium, the same that hangs down your ceiling on birthday celebrations. Yep, you heard that right. Larry lovingly named his airborne contraption Lawn Chair Larry. This guy had the spirit of an explorer and the resourcefulness of an everyday Joe. Armed with nothing but his lawn chair and 45 weather balloons, Larry was ready to take on the skies. Now, you might be wondering what motivated Larry to embark on such a crazy escapade. Well, it wasn't the promise of fame or fortune. Nope, Larry was a man who craved freedom, a break from the monotony of everyday life. He wanted to break free from the chains that held him down and experience the exhilaration of soaring high above it all. So, with his heart full of dreams and his balloons full of helium, Larry's big moment arrived. He launched himself from his girlfriend's backyard in San Pedro, California, and started ascending higher and higher. Can you imagine the sight? A guy sitting in a lawn chair, floating into the sky like a real-life superhero? It was like something out of a movie. As Larry climbed to a mind-boggling height of 16,000 feet, that's even higher than a commercial airliner cruise, things started getting real. Armed with a CB radio, some sandwiches, a couple of beers, because what's an adventure without a cold one, and even a pellet gun to help him descend by popping balloons, Larry was on top of the world. Of course, Larry's unexpected presence in the flight paths caused quite a commotion. Emergency responses were triggered, and the whole situation became a whirlwind of chaos and disbelief. I mean, who could blame them? It's not every day you see a guy suspended in the air by a bunch of balloons. It was like a real-life cartoon unfolding before their eyes. Eventually, Larry's lofty adventure hit a snag when he got tangled up in some power lines. But don't worry, he made it back to the ground in one piece, miraculously unharmed. Now you'd think that would be the end of it, right? Nope, not for Larry. The aftermath of his daring flight was a mix of admiration, disbelief, and yes, even some legal trouble. Larry ended up getting fined for violating airspace regulations. But you know what? That didn't matter to him. In the eyes of those who witnessed his audacious flight, Larry became a legend, a symbol of the human spirit's unyielding desire to break free from the ordinary. He might have faced some consequences, but he also captured the hearts and imaginations of people who saw in him a reminder to never stop dreaming, no matter how crazy those dreams might be. Sadly, though, Larry's story took a bittersweet turn. His quest for adventure and fleeting fame cast a shadow over his later years, leading to his tragic end. So, the next time you look up at the sky and see a flock of balloons, remember the indomitable spirit of Larry Walters. He may have soared into legend on a humble lawn chair, but he also reminded us that audacity and folly are two sides of the same coin. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, his story will inspire you to chase your own wildest dreams, no matter how absurd they may seem. Remy Lucid Climbing. This is a tragic and very painful story of Remy Lucid Rose, also known as Remy Enigma. Remy gained fame on social media as a French photographer who fearlessly scaled tall buildings and other high structures around the world, capturing jaw-dropping photos along the way. His content was both thrilling and terrifying, attracting admiration and respect from his followers. However, during a trip to Hong Kong in July 2023, Remy met a devastating end. While attempting to climb the 68-story Truna Tower, he tragically fell from the top and plummeted to his death. The circumstances surrounding his death remain unclear, but it is believed that Remy got trapped outside the top-floor penthouse and either slipped, lost his footing, or became too fatigued to hold on while awaiting help. It's important to note that Remy wasn't authorized to be at the building in the first place. He gained access by misleading a doorman, claiming he was visiting someone on the 40th floor. However, the person he named as his acquaintance later confirmed they didn't know him at all. Surveillance footage revealed that Remy entered an elevator on the 49th floor and made his way to the top of the 721-feet building, where he forced open a door. He attempted to seek assistance by knocking on the window of a penthouse where a maid was cleaning. The housekeeper promptly alerted the police, but unfortunately, Remy had already fallen by the time they arrived. Remy's death is undeniably tragic, but it's also important to acknowledge that he knowingly took extreme risks countless times during his climbing expeditions. Regardless of someone's skill level in climbing, accidents can happen in a split second, leading to catastrophic consequences. Remy's story serves as a reminder of the dangers associated with such daring pursuits and the importance of balancing passion with safety. Fake butts injection. Sometimes it can be self-harming to stake some corrective forms on some self-acclaimed physical deformities. Just before you ask why, wait to listen to the shocking case of Maria Olivia Castillo and the fatal injections she received. Back in 2005, the 46-year-old Maria thought she was getting some fancy French polymer injections to reduce wrinkles in her butt, but little did she know, she was in for a horrifying surprise. So here's what happened. Maria went all the way to California to get treatment from a woman named Martha Mata Vasquez. Now, Martha wasn't your ordinary beautician. She had a secret, a dangerous secret. Instead of using the promised polymer injections, she injected Maria and others with good old Maola corn oil. Can you believe it? And to make matters worse, she didn't even have a license to perform these cosmetic injections. Tragically, Maria didn't survive this terrible ordeal. The fat blockage caused by the injections led to her untimely death. But she wasn't the only victim. Another patient ended up in a coma, and several others suffered from serious medical issues. Can you imagine the shock and pain their families must have gone through? When the truth came out, prosecutors didn't hold back. They accused Martha of knowingly continuing the injections even after finding out that her clients were getting sick. It's outrageous. And get this, she was charging a whopping $1,700 per injection. Eventually, Martha pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter, and she was sentenced to 15 years in prison. During her sentencing, she apologized to her family, her victims, and their families. But her lawyer argued that Maria had no idea the injections were dangerous. He claimed she was just guilty of negligent conduct, not intending to kill anyone. Still, many believe that the sentence was well-deserved. This whole case shines a bright light on the dark side of illegal cosmetic injections and surgeries in the United States. People are lured by the promise of lower prices, but they end up risking their lives in the hands of unlicensed practitioners like Martha. It's a cautionary tale, reminding us that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. When it comes to our health and well-being, it's crucial to do our research and not take unnecessary risks. Gary Hoy's fatal demonstration. As a child, we dared some demonstrations to prove our strength, skills, and the durability of some objects around us. Sometimes, it turns out tragic, and the case of Gary Hoy is nothing short of the same. Back in 1993, this respected lawyer and engineer became a cautionary example of misplaced confidence. His story unfolded in a high-rise building in Toronto, where his law firm was located. Gary Hoy was known for his intellect and enthusiasm, but he also had a peculiar way of demonstrating the strength and safety of the building's windows. He would run and hurl himself against a window to prove that it was unbreakable. He had done this stunt several times before, and each time the glass held up under his full body weight. However, on that fateful day, something went wrong. The glass's integrity failed not by breaking, but by popping out of the frame. This sent Gary plummeting 24 floors to his death. Can you imagine the shock and disbelief that must have swept through the community? What was intended to be an act to inspire confidence turned into a somber lesson in humility and the laws of physics. The repercussions of Gary Hoy's death extended far beyond the personal tragedy. It sheds light on the dangers of overconfidence in the workplace and the importance of respecting safety protocols. It served as a stark reminder that defying the limits of engineering without regard for safety can have fatal consequences. Gary Hoy's story is not just a tale of personal misjudgment. It serves as a cautionary note about the boundaries of human daring and the unyielding nature of physical laws. It forces us to confront the risks of pushing the limits without proper consideration of the laws of nature. Playing with electricity. What happens when the hunter becomes the hunted? Let's explore the story of this notorious German serial killer named Idea Schiffer, infamously known as the Aran Strangler. Sentenced to life in prison in 2008 for the murder of 5 hitchhikers between 1983 and 1990, his story took an unexpected turn. In 2018, Schiffer was discovered dead in his prison cell under shocking circumstances. His lifeless body was found with a live electrical cord wrapped around his intimates. An autopsy later revealed that the 62-year-old died from heart failure caused by the electric current. It turned out that Schiffer had removed the cord from a lamp in his cell, inserted the end into a nearby wall socket, and curiously used it as a source of pleasure. Unfortunately, the shocks proved to be too powerful for his body to handle. The surge of live electricity overwhelmed him, leading to his untimely demise. One can't help but wonder if Schiffer's mental health had reached an all-time low. Not only was he sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars, but he had also endured nearly 8 years in solitary confinement, isolated from any human contact. Investigators meticulously examined every possible angle, carefully considering the circumstances surrounding Schiffer's death. After a thorough investigation, they ultimately concluded that his demise was an accident, a tragic end to a life marked by heinous crimes. This harrowing tale serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of the human mind and the consequences of one's actions. Schiffer's twisted fascination with the electric current led him down a path of self-destruction, highlighting the importance of mental well-being and the chilling effects that isolation can have on an individual. While justice was served through his life sentence, Schiffer's demise raises questions about the complexities of the human psyche and the profound impact of solitude on one's mental state. It reminds us to be vigilant in our efforts to understand and address the psychological well-being of those within the prison system. Rock climbing without gear. Free climbing, also known as rock climbing without gear, is an incredibly daring and risky activity. It involves ascending rocks and cliffs without the use of ropes, harnesses, or any other safety equipment that most climbers would rely on to prevent a fatal fall. One of the most renowned free climbers in the world was Austin Howell, who astonished even the most experienced climbers with the risks he was willing to take. Howell's skill and accomplishments were undeniable. He fearlessly scaled peaks and cliffs that most people could only dream of conquering, even with the aid of safety gear. However, the intrinsic danger of free climbing became tragically apparent in 2019 when Howell met his untimely demise. He fell a staggering 80 feet to his death from Short-Off Mountain in Ber County, North Carolina. County officials described the specific area of the mountain where Howell fell as one of the most treacherous portions of the peak. It was a challenging location for emergency responders to access, and by the time they reached him, it was too late. Interestingly, Howell had experienced a close call 11 years before his fatal fall. In 2008, while climbing an indoor rock wall, he encountered difficulties and fell 35 feet to the ground. The accident resulted from his belayer accidentally letting go of the brake rope. Howell suffered multiple injuries, including 3 broken vertebrae and several fractures, but he eventually recovered after months of healing. Despite this previous accident and the risks associated with free climbing, Howell continued to pursue his passion with full knowledge of the dangers involved. Some may argue that climbers like Howell become overconfident in their ability to avoid disaster. However, the truth is that these athletes are driven by an unwavering passion for their sport. Their love for climbing pushes them to undertake seemingly impossible challenges, and it's challenging to dissuade them from pursuing their dreams, no matter how risky they may appear to others. Ultimately, free climbers like Austin Howell are fueled by an intense passion for their sport. They accept the risks involved and willingly embrace them, even though it may seem incomprehensible to outsiders. While we can acknowledge the dangers they face and the potential consequences, it's important to respect their choices and understand that their pursuit of their passions goes beyond mere recklessness. Deadly protest. Here is a jaw-dropping story that will leave you both disturbed and wondering if some people are truly mad. It's the tale of David File's extreme protest, a final act of defiance that shocked an entire nation. It's 1008 in Bishopstoke, England, and David File found himself facing the demolition of his beloved apartment block. The authorities had big redevelopment plans, but File didn't have any of them. Despite numerous offers of alternative accommodation, he stubbornly clung to his residence, becoming the last resident in a hauntingly abandoned building. Now, this is where things take a dark and irreversible turn. File, driven to the brink of desperation, decided that his protest needed to make a statement that would be impossible to ignore. So, what did he do? He chose to behead himself with a chainsaw. Yes, you heard that right. File took a gruesome and shocking path to his demise. This act of self-inflicted violence wasn't just an expression of personal despair, it was a macabre public statement. It symbolized his deep-seated frustration and disaffection towards the housing authorities and the system he believed had failed him. But it doesn't end there. File's protest was meticulously planned, showing just how far he was willing to go. He set up a complex mechanism to carry out this horrifying act, demonstrating the depths of his desperation and the premeditation behind his decision. Naturally, the aftermath of File's death sent shockwaves through the community, leaving people in a state of disbelief and sorrow. It ignited passionate debates on crucial issues like mental health support, the impact of forced relocations, and the responsibilities of housing developers towards their tenants. Suddenly, the human element in urban development projects came under intense scrutiny. David File's tragic death is a cautionary tale that forces us to confront the depths of human despair. It sheds light on the urgent need for empathy and understanding when dealing with individuals in crisis. It's a chilling reminder that behind every urban development project, there are real lives, real emotions, and real consequences that should never be overlooked. So let this story remind us of the harrowing lengths some people are driven to when pushed to their breaking point. It's a tale that will stay with you, urging you to question the systems in place and the way we treat those who feel abandoned and voiceless. Remember, in the pursuit of progress, we must never forget the human beings behind the scenes. Michael Anderson Electrocution. Every prisoner with a death sentence knows that he or she will someday be executed. But what happens when a prisoner kills himself so sooner than the law states? This is the story of Michael Anderson Godwin, a death row inmate who met a fate so unexpected that it challenged all odds. Initially sentenced to death for a heinous crime, Godwin's sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment. The irony of this turn of events only adds to the grimness of what was to come. It was within the confines of his cell at a South Carolina correctional facility in 1989 that Godwin's story took a shocking turn. In a seemingly harmless attempt at convenience, Godwin decided to repair a pair of headphones that were connected to his television. Little did he know that this minor task would have fatal consequences. Sitting on a metal toilet, he proceeded to bite into a wire, completely unaware that he was completing an electrical circuit that included the very toilet he was sitting on. In an instant, tragedy struck. The electrocution was instantaneous and lethal. Who would have thought that a simple act of trying to fix headphones could lead to such a shocking and untimely end? This incident not only highlights the unforeseen hazards that can arise from seemingly mundane activities, but also serves as a poignant commentary on the unpredictability of life and death. Godwin's unintentional self-inflicted execution forces us to confront the fragility of our existence and the need for caution in even the most ordinary of circumstances. This bizarre and tragic end to a life already marked by tragedy and controversy leaves us pondering the fragility of human existence and the unexpected twists that fate can deliver. So, let Godwin's story serve as a cautionary tale, reminding us to exercise caution and respect when it comes to electrical safety. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. This picture casts a sad beam of light on the fragility and unexpectedness of life. As you gaze upon this captivating image, your heart may ache at the sight of this lifeless body lying atop an electric high-tension coil. It is a scene that evokes both bewilderment and sorrow, leaving us with more questions than answers. How did she find herself in such a perilous position? Could this have been a tragic fall accident that led to her unfortunate resting place? The possibilities are as numerous as the unanswered queries that surround this mysterious scene. But the inscription, "Embarrassingly Dumb Ways People Died," projects a different thing altogether. Well, in this video we will find out, and a whole lot of other similar unimaginable events, showing how people took the air out their nostrils, some in a more seemingly joking manner. Now you can't sit on the fence and watch all these unfold. Kindly hit the comment section and tell us what you think about these people and their deadly adventures. Hiking drunk. If you love hiking, this is a cautionary tale that took place in July 2023. Gerardo Hernandez Rodriguez, a 41-year-old man, and his wife decided to spend a Saturday afternoon hiking with their 5 children at Oregon's breathtaking Multnomah Falls. Little did they know that this outing would end in tragedy. While hiking along an embankment running alongside the Columbia River Highway, Gerardo slipped and tragically fell 200 feet to his death. The family immediately called 911, hoping for a miracle. Emergency responders arrived approximately 45 minutes later, but it was already too late to save him. According to authorities, alcohol impairment played a role in Gerardo's fatal accident. While it's impossible to say for sure whether Gerardo would have fallen even if he had been sober, it's crucial to recognize that hiking on a potentially dangerous trail while under the influence is far from a smart idea. The timing of this tragedy made it even more poignant, occurring just days before the 4th of July, when the park was bustling with vacationers celebrating the holiday. Gerardo's death shook those who frequented the park, leaving many fearful of hiking along the same trail where he had fallen. Sadly, it wasn't the first time such a tragic incident occurred in that spot. Less than a year earlier, a 62-year-old woman hiking with friends suffered a similar fate, falling and ultimately succumbing to a brain injury. These heart-wrenching tragedies should serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of human life and the mercy of nature. They should urge us all to exercise caution and understand the potential risks associated with our actions, especially when venturing into the great outdoors. Let Gerardo's story be a reminder that alcohol and hazardous environments can be a deadly combination. Ultimately, our lives are in its hands, and it's up to us to navigate its wonders with prudence and vigilance. Wrong tools for a routine check. Every day we make use of chemicals and other materials that are no pally to flames. The story of Robert R.'s tragic demise in 2003 serves as a stark reminder of the lethal consequences that can arise from underestimating the volatile nature of gasoline. Robert's story began with a seemingly innocent task, checking the fuel level inside a gasoline tanker. Driven by a blend of curiosity and necessity, he made a fateful decision. Instead of using appropriate tools and methods, he chose to use a lighter to illuminate the interior of the tanker. This choice proved catastrophic, igniting the gasoline vapors and causing a devastating explosion that claimed his life. The incident serves as a sobering warning about the hazards associated with flammable substances. Gasoline vapors are highly explosive, and even the smallest source of ignition can lead to a tragic outcome. Robert's story is a tragic reminder of the importance of using proper tools and following safety protocols when dealing with such substances. Beyond the loss of life, Robert's story underscores the critical need for safety awareness and education in everyday situations. It emphasizes the necessity of respecting the inherent dangers of common substances like gasoline. By adhering to safety protocols and promoting responsible behavior, we can work towards preventing such devastating tragedies. Let Robert's story serve as a reminder to approach flammable substances with caution, use appropriate tools and methods, and prioritize safety in all our actions. So the next time you're to inspect your petrochemical gadgets in dark places, please endeavor to use rechargeable or dry cell torchlights. Archbolds' deadly diet. Most food-eating pranks and competitions can be very daring and risky to the lives of people. You may ask how. Edward Archbold participated in a roach-eating contest in 2012, and that set his journey to the land of the dead. Motivated by a competitive spirit and a potential misunderstanding of the risks involved, Archbold joined the contest to win a pet python at Ben Siegel Reptile Store in Deerfield Beach, about 40 miles north of Miami. The participants were tasked with consuming as many live cockroaches and worms as possible, putting their endurance and stomach fortitude to the test. Archbold's determination drove him to consume dozens of these creatures, leading him to victory. However, shortly after the contest ended, he fell ill and began vomiting, an alarming indication of his body's severe reaction to the insects he had ingested. Despite receiving medical attention, he tragically succumbed to asphyxiation caused by choking on cockroach body parts. What was meant to be a bizarre but non-lethal competition ended in a fatal outcome. This incident shed light on the significant health risks associated with consuming live insects, especially in large quantities and without proper precautions. Archbold's death sparked widespread debate on the safety and ethics of such contests, prompting discussions about the responsibilities of organizers and the awareness of participants regarding potential health risks. It serves as a stark reminder of the lengths people may go to for competition and reward, underscoring the need for greater awareness and regulation of activities that pose significant health hazards. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.